Welcome back. I'm Nantara Rai, and we're going to head back to the Swiss Alps of Davos. It is Davos 2019 has kicked off. World leaders, biggest of policymakers, economists have all congregated there. And here's my executive editor, Supriya Shinit. She's managed to interview the chiefs of the state-owned oil companies together. Here's that interview.
And joining with me are men from India's oil and gas sector, people who matter and people who will ensure India's energy security. Thank you very much. The chairman of GAIL is here, the chairman of IOC is here, and the chairman of HPCL is here, Mr. Surana, Mr. Singh, and of course Mr. Tripathi. So thank you very much for being with us. Even though the government is missing in action at this time, it seems the corporate veterans are all out there.
Well, we are here. It's a part of a government. It's a government in action very much. You see, all three Maharatna companies are here. And we are trying to see that what is new happening in the global economy, what are the new developments in the space of technology, in climate change, and at large in the energy space, what are those new avenues, new businesses people are talking, and it will be a wonderful place to interact with the people who matters in the global economy, and how the global geopolitics is going to affect the economy and the energy space. That will be the area of interest for us.
Okay, let me just take a very important question that a lot of people have in mind, and that is about India's energy security. Mr. Singh, you run IOC, and it is India's largest oil retailer. I think a lot of people would want to know from you is that when you look at the Indian economic landscape, it is incomplete without a conversation on energy security. And not just energy security, but, you know, the volatile prices of oil and all of that. I don't think any of us can make a prediction on oil here. If we were, we wouldn't be doing our day jobs. But if I were to ask you, oil at about $60 a barrel is seemingly the new normal, and most projections by the IMF and everybody else is based on that. Is oil here to stay at those levels?
It's very difficult. I mean, as you yourself said, it is extremely difficult to predict or extremely difficult to say that whether it will stay at this level. But one thing is very true, that India's energy demands are going to increase because we are growing at a very robust rate. So, and while our commitment towards environment or towards a sustainable affordable energy is also extremely essential for the country. We had been operating at more than $100 a barrel also. We had been operating at a much lower level also. Definitely we would prefer, because India imports a large quantity of oil, nearly 84-85% of our oil is imported today. So while from the country point of view, we prefer lower prices. Difficult to say, but we don't see the prices going up very high.
Let's hope and pray for that. As a consumer, I believe prices should not go up and remain range bound. But Mr. Surana, I think one of the questions that I would want to ask you is that when prices are volatile and when prices stay up, you know, players like yourselves get questioned. Why is it that oil prices are high when oil was at a lower regime globally? Your retail prices didn't come down substantially. I know there are bigger concerns there, and I know it's the exchequer and all of those things that are concerned. But from a larger point of view, what would you say to people who obviously get angsty and anxious when oil prices go down, but not for the consumer?
No, we need to take care of all our stakeholders, which includes the consumers, which includes our shareholders, which includes the government. Actually, the oil pricing and its correlation to the international prices and the domestic price had been a bit misunderstood phenomena, because there is more complex than what the people normally understand. There is a timing impact, there is a foreign exchange impact, there is a time of processing the oil by the time it gets sold. There are inventory gains, losses, issues are there. What we try to do is to ensure that we are able to pass on the international variation to consumers, at the same time keeping that the consumers is not extremely inconvenienced. And to that extent, we have tried to balance the two to raise the prices to the extent we can. As 4th October, it has been coming down, except if last 1 week we see when the crude price has been going up.
But you know, I think, Mr. Tripathi, I'll come to you in just a bit because I want to talk about our energy independence. But let me just get down with the consumer angle on the oil prices then. And Mr. Singh, you know, a lot of people will turn around and tell you that the exchequer is being taken into consideration as far as India's oil prices are concerned and not the consumer. Is that an unfair assessment to make?
Many a times...
I mean, why should excise duty not go down? I know it's beyond
anyway, excise duty is not in our control.
Yes,
but
exactly.
Many a times we try to see that what percentage crude prices have fallen and whether the product prices have also fallen in the same ratio or not. There are two things which sometimes we miss. Number one is exchange rate. Again, the recent times when the prices were falling, incidentally, the rupee was also devaluated.
Yes.
So, which had probably more impact than the change in the oil price. Secondly, the prices which we work out is linked with the global prices of the product and not the crude. Within the product retail prices, there is a fixed component which is substantial, which is close to, I would say close to 50%, which includes the shipping cost, which includes the excise duties and things like that, which are more or less independent of the product price in the global market. So there is no way that it has to fall in the same proportion to the crude. As Mr. Surana was also saying, in the recent past, when the product prices are falling in the international market, the same trend is followed in the domestic market also.
Just give me a minute, because I think I want to make the larger point about India's energy security. If you look at the US, they've been able to, get shale gas to the negotiating table. Every time global prices go up, they can, maneuver shale production. When will we see India perhaps, obviously, I mean, it's a long shot at being energy reliant, but there is so much that has been written and said about it. How close or far are we from reliance? And I mean energy reliance.
If you talk about the energy security for India, we need to understand one thing is that it's what are the natural resources available to us. So to what extent we can produce domestically is the first priority, which government is focusing. All our upstream companies, sister companies are focusing on that. But the major impact which we can probably make on the reliance is how, as a large consuming country, we are able to make impact in the international arena, and how the voice of the largest consumer, second largest consumer of the world, is being felt by basically the major producing country like OPEC, Russia and US and all those places. In the recent past, you have seen that government has been making pitch right from the Prime Minister till all the levels, and it is making an impact. And definitely how global economy, how global prices goes, that will have an impact in India, because we are still 80% plus import dependence, and we will remain import dependent for a foreseeable future. But the point is, if we are able to make our impact felt, if we are able to see and convince the world and pressurize the world to bring in a balanced price, which we call the reasonable price, I think that will ensure our energy sustainability, energy reliance, because at the end of the day, we'll have to see that what is available in India, that only can be produced. So we'll have to remain on import dependence, but we need to make a bigger pitch, and the voice should be heard. The other important thing is for the global economy and largely the oil producing country, they have to realize that if Indian economy continues to grow, the demand continues to grow, will also create demand for them. So it's basically a win-win for both the sides. So that will be the major area of focus for us.
Well, there you go. The top bosses of IOC, GAIL, as well as HPCL together being quizzed at Davos 2019. Talk about fuel pricing. Remember, in 2018, all of these chairmen of these companies had been at the wrong side, have been facing the wrath of consumers as crude prices have been inching up. You heard them all say they don't think crude oil prices will be going up a lot more. Let's get to the other big interview from Davos. Incidentally, we are on standby for the mega ET Now exclusive, which is with the IMF chief economist Geeta Gopinath. She will be on ET Now exclusively, in a few moments from now, since taking charge at the IMF. But till then, let's get to another big